The chances of Putin employing a nuclear device against Ukraine have been increasing each day, especially with the influx of weapons and money from the West to Zelensky. Imagine this, you're sitting at home, you hear a ring on your phone, or you look at the TV and the news comes on and says that a nuclear device has hit Kiev. Can you imagine the economic impact globally that would have, not just on the loss of lives? You're talking about the stock market would instantly drop 75 to 85%. Of course, the government would freeze Wall Street and would close down the stock market for the coming days, but not before it crashes. 401ks, savings, even gold is going to crash initially, and it may rebound. But again, if the markets are closed, because they're going to have to close them, everything's going to crash, then the market's going to close. You're not going to be able to buy gold on the stock market, open market. You would have to buy it physically or through other brokers, secondary brokers. Now that Putin has annexed parts of Ukraine into Russia, like the Donetsk and Luhansk, and is failing to defend them, his options are becoming more and more limited. And it looks like a nuclear device, especially a tactical nuclear device, it differs from a nuclear device that would say impact Kiev, but a tactical nuke is a smaller nuke that can be detonated on the battlefield for specific targets or against soldiers, right? That would be the more probable weapon to be used. And the impact would still be terrific, especially on a global market. And that's really what we fear. It really doesn't feel happenstance. You know, if you guys remember, the U.S. intelligence was talking about Russia's possible invasion of Ukraine months before it happened. I was one of those skeptics. I think because I thought it couldn't be possible that Putin could be so predictable. But the reality is, we always have been expecting what's Putin's next move. What is he going to do now? The reality is, he's been playing in to our plan all along. And when I say our, I mean that of the United States, of the NATO countries, right? They've pushed him into a corner with the Western expansion, with NATO expansion, knowing eventually he would react. They knew this. They pushed him to that. And now it gives us the opportunity to fight this proxy war against Russia. And we also know already that he is eventually going to resort to a tactical nuclear device. And that is what we're waiting for, because then we can shun him. He becomes a pariah. India, China, all these other countries that have tried to stay neutral and still do make dealings with Russia will no longer be able to. They will have to get on board with the sanctions, and Russia will be completely bankrupt. Each of these steps that is played from the beginning up until now have all been predicted by us. They more than just predicted, we've guided this. This is our end game. No, Putin probably realizes it, but it's one of those things that you're put in a situation where you don't have any other options. You really don't. And so he can delay, but it's inevitable that this is going to happen. Could he opt to not use nuclear device? Man, listen, everybody is talking about it. At this point, they're saying, and this is the people at top, the intelligence community, is say he is going to regroup this winter for a strong offensive that's going to start in the spring. Now, for whatever reason, he's not going to be able to conquer his objectives during the spring. His only option, which he probably will not be able to, his only option is going to be to use a tactical nuclear device. And honestly, people in Washington, that's what they're counting on, because that will be the final nail in the Russia coffin, like I mentioned, because that way, finally, he will lose all of his allies. And at what cost, though? At what cost? That's what you got to ask yourself. This is our game plan. We could prevent this. We could intervene. We could have shaped things differently, but we're willing to sacrifice so many lives, so many civilians that are dying in Ukraine, ultimately for this global plan that the United States and NATO has. And so we're letting other people fight the war. We're giving them weapons that half the time they don't know how to use. We're giving them money so that they can keep on fighting far beyond when they should. You got to think, if they had given up, and you know, I know people say, well, it wouldn't be good, but I'm telling you, more people would be alive. Do you know the human life cost of this fight? Do you think the majority of Ukrainian people want to fight? No, it's been instilled. It's a Western influence that has pushed them into this. This is why we have been so involved from the beginning, from a propaganda standpoint, getting behind the Ukrainian people. Even though Ukrainian is a very corrupt country, you know, it's nothing to be acting like they're, you know, these best of us, you know. But anyway, whatever. We're here now. We're making the best of it. The Russians are doing some crazy shit, but they're getting desperate. And people keep talking about nuclear weapons, but nobody wants to actually like acknowledge that this is something that is very likely to happen, especially here in 2023. So what are you going to do? I'm going to try to make a series of videos talking about where you could maneuver your money to stay protected. If you're thinking about crypto, unfortunately, crypto's going to crash too. Like everything is going to crash if a nuclear war happens. Parking it in gold is a good option. Get out of margins. Do not be in any margins, because on an 80% drop, you're going to get a margin call. You're going to be left with nothing. And spread things between separate accounts. Don't keep all your money in one place, because if it crashes you on a margin, you get cashed out. That's it. It's done. Your entire savings are gone. What do you guys think of all this stuff that's happening? What is your theory on Russia, Ukraine? I just hate seeing people die. And in the end, we all know that it's the elite that are controlling the strings here. They're the ones that made the decision. There's special interests at play here. And there's an end game plan. There is absolutely an end game. We're just not always aware of it. But mark my words, I say the spring, the strong offensive, and we might see a tactical nuclear device used. So I'm going to try to start moving money around to prepare for this eventuality. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. As always, buy red and sell green.